Happy Friday. Welcome to the end of Internapalooza. My name is Morgan Rako. I am the Chief Operating Officer of College to Congress. We are an organization that assists Pell Grant eligible students and recent college graduates who are looking to get onto Capitol Hill in internships. And we help bridge the barriers, eliminate barriers and bridge the gaps and try and create an equal playing field for folks. So we've actually been doing a boot camp for the interns who we've been assisting for the entirety of our organization. So it's been 6 years of us creating and refining this programming. So I'm happy to be bringing some of that along to you guys. All right, roles and responsibilities. So we're going to talk a little bit about questions you're going to have right at the beginning of your internship. So first main question, what is your job as an intern? So I've listed out here a bunch of administrative duties that you're going to be in charge of. Really, you're kind of the first point of contact of you open up the office, you close down the office, and you're going to be assisting in greeting visitors and making sure that the office is running smoothly. So greeting guests, answering phones, dealing with constituents. I know there's been a lot of conversation about how to deal with constituents already. Sorting and distributing mail, that would be physical mail as well as email coming through, running errands, purchasing office supplies, leading Capitol tours, which haven't really been a thing over the past year, but hopefully will be coming back soon. Signing letters that your boss has agreed to put his or her name on, and managing flag requests. Anyone can request a flag that's been flown over the US Capitol. So when your constituents request one of those and purchase one, kind of managing getting those shipped out to them. Legislative duties, answering mail. So not just sorting the mail, but when people write in supporting or opposing an issue, potentially drafting a response to them. Researching issues. Similarly, there's thousands of bills that get introduced every single Congress, and making sure that when you're talking about any single one of them, you know what you're talking about. Hunting down reference material, again, just going back into researching, gathering information on pending bills, research, developing special legislative projects or initiatives, attending hearings and meetings. Be proactive on that. If there's something that you see coming up that you're interested in, ask the person who manages that issue in your office if you can attend that hearing or briefing for them and create a memo. Following up on dear colleague letters to other members or senators, looking up facts and figures for a speech, ordering documents, and writing newsletter articles. Press duties, collecting press clips. So your boss is going to be in the news. Every day, press clips are assembled, normally by an intern. So you look for any mention of your boss in the news from the past 24 hours, and then you kind of put together what's driving the day in the news. This is a great opportunity for you to get a better understanding of what your day is going to look like, because if you know what's happening in the news, you know what people are going to be calling in and talking to you about. Updating social media accounts is possibly something you're going to be asked to do. More likely, you're going to be given the opportunity to draft social media posts. If you're given that opportunity, make sure that you are kind of comparing what you sent for your first draft and what the member ends up actually posting. So even if you're not getting provided track changes and direct feedback from the communication shop, you're able to see how they tweaked it to make it more the member's own voice. Hill etiquette. What should you do and what should you not do? Almost equally important. Wearing a blazer or jacket. Anytime you're in the Capitol, you are going to find out that there's an ongoing joke about Jim Jordan's jacket, that Congressman Jim Jordan almost never wears a jacket, but he always is carrying one with him, because if you go onto the House floor, you need to wear a jacket. It's just part of protocol. So make sure that you're always dressed professionally and ready for any errand that might pop up. Stay off the elevators marked members only. They're marked members only for a reason, and there are members of Congress, if you are on one of those elevators, especially during votes, will ask you who you work for, and they will call your office or they will pull your member aside at votes and say, hey, your intern was on the members only elevator. I've seen members of Congress kick out staff and interns from these elevators. They're meant for members who are trying to get places quickly. Make sure you do not take one of those. Have your ID badge, your congressional ID badge on you at all times. This has become even more important after January 6th. Previously, you just kind of needed your ID to get into the House and Senate office buildings and then get around into the Capitol. Now, if you are going anywhere in the complex, have it on your person. Keep your cell phone in your pocket when you're in the office. Don't be scrolling on Instagram. That's not what you're there to do. If you have the time to be scrolling on Instagram, you should instead be scrolling on your computer, reading news, or looking at the House floor. There are a million things you can be doing other than playing on your phone. Keep anything you learn or hear in your office private and confidential. There is no reason you should be sharing information about the goings on of your office in social settings. What you're witnessing is kind of a privilege to watch happening. So make sure that you're treating it with the seriousness and confidentiality that you should be. This is just a general DC rule. Stand on the right side of any escalator you're on. Standing on the right side is what you do when you're standing. Leave the left open for people who are walking. Don't use your office computer to play games or watch TV. I had a intern who came in every day and brought a separate iPad while I was interning. I was interning with this gentleman. He brought an iPad to watch Netflix with him every day. Don't be that guy. Don't use your member's official letterhead or the frank to send letters to your friends and family. That's not what it's there for. If you need to send mail, there's a postal office within Longworth House office building. If you need a stamp, go buy a stamp. Do not publicly challenge your boss's position on an issue, whether that be on social media or just or conversationally. It's really just not your place at this point. Don't use the office supply card to buy personal supplies. The office supply card is used, it's linked to the taxpayer money that funds your office. So if you think to yourself, is this really being used for taxpayers? If the answer is no, and it's just for your own personal use, you shouldn't be purchasing it on the office supply card. Don't publish anything about your internship experience without talking to your supervisor or the communications department. Sometimes they'll love for you to talk about your internship experience, whether it's with your college newspaper or something like that. But just make sure that it's above board before you do that. Never, ever, 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 ever speculate on what your member thinks or feels when you're talking to constituents. If you don't know for a fact what the answer is, say you don't know, and you can put them on hold and ask someone above you. Okay, dressing for the Hill. We're going to speed through this one a little bit. And there's a whole section, I'll give you a resource for it, on what do you wear? Great question. So there are two types of days: fly-in days and in-session days, days where the members of Congress are here and voting. And then there are recess days when the members of Congress are not voting. Always check the House and Senate calendar, whichever chamber you're interning in, to make sure that you are dressing appropriately. If you know that they're in session, you need to be in business attire. If it is a recess day, on your first recess day in the office, dress professionally, see what everyone else in your office is doing before you decide it's okay to wear jeans and flip-flops. Take the temperature of the office before you dress down, just so you can see how everyone else around you is dressing. Each office has a different vibe and different protocols on what they deem to be appropriate on out of session recess days. If you have any more questions or feel like you want to dig into that more on what is professional and what is more casual, but would be okay, check out c2cuniversity.org. We've got a whole detailed section on that. Okay, learning the lingo, who's who and what's what. I'm not going to go through each of these, but I just talked to you guys about session, recess, what those mean. The boss, that's the person you work for. Every member of Congress likes to be addressed differently. Always go more formal than you think you need to. Do not speak to them as if you're on a first name basis, because you're not. If you are told that you can address the member of Congress by their first name, go ahead and do that. But always start out more formal than you think you need to be. This is kind of the hierarchy of each congressional office. You've got a chief of staff. They're kind of the main person in charge other than the member. Legislative director runs the legislative shop. Communications director, press secretary runs the messaging on all of the stuff the office does. The scheduler is kind of the gatekeeper to the member. He or she decides what the member's priorities for each day are in terms of where they need to be and when. And then staff assistant is probably your direct supervisor, probably your intern coordinator. And they have more jobs than just being an intern coordinator. So try to make their lives easier. We'll get into that in a minute. Couple things. So the first 2 weeks are generally the hardest. Be patient with yourself and be patient with others. Give yourself time to breathe and soak in the big moments. Soak in the first time you go into the Capitol Rotunda or getting your congressional ID badge. It's such a privilege and an honor to be in the halls of Congress. Make sure you're really soaking in each moment and enjoying it for what it is. See your internship as a learning experience. You're going to make mistakes. Learn from them. My first internship, on my second day there, I picked up the phone and someone said, "Hi, I need to speak to Pat, the member of Congress." And I was like, "Oh, may I ask who's calling?" He goes, "It's Eric Cantor." I didn't know who that was, but the person sounded important. I put him on hold. I said, "Someone named Eric Cantor is on the phone." It was the majority whip at the time. So you're going to make mistakes. Make sure that you learn from them. What I learned from that, make sure that I'm actually reading Politico and The Hill and Roll Call and all those things so you know who's who. Use common sense, kind of going along with that. Your intern coordinator and everyone else around you, their main job is not to focus on you. Do what you can to make their lives easier instead of being an added stress for them. If you can anticipate needs that others around you are going to have, try to do that. Don't go to your intern coordinator with a million questions that are easily Googleable or the answer could be found on your member's website. Try to be proactive, use common sense. Be the first one in and the last one out. So much of what interns do is really setting up and closing down the office. So get the checklist from your intern coordinator of how they like things set up. Do you need to pass out newspapers? What newspapers should go to who? How do you take the phones off of voicemail? How do you check the voicemail? Things like that, that really can just get the day started on the right foot. And similarly, being the last one out, closing down the office and making sure you're following those protocols as well is just super helpful. There's no hand-holding. So being a self-starter, being proactive, paying attention to what's going on around you and trying to anticipate the needs of what those around you are really going to need on any given day is going to be so beneficial. There's very little advice, like feedback and advice on Capitol Hill. So make sure that you're picking up on hints of indirect feedback. Like I said, if you're given the opportunity to draft something, make sure you look at the final product. They're not going to give you track changes of what they changed and why. But you should be able to read what you wrote, read what the final product was, do some comparison and try and figure it out that way. No task is too small. You're going to be asked to do things that are maybe not necessarily the most fun or exciting things. You're going to be asked to refill printer paper. You're going to be asked to go run and get coffee at some point, or go pick up whoever your boss is meeting with. They're at the front of Longworth. Can you go get them and bring them here? Do what you're asked, and just know that the people around you have also done those small tasks too. If you're being asked to do those things, it's because they need to get done. Similarly, do everything at 100%. Especially if it's a boring task. Going back to what I just said, you're gonna be asked to do things that don't sound like the most fun thing. It doesn't matter. If you have a positive attitude and you keep in mind that everyone else around you has also paid their dues in this way, people are going to recognize that. If you're a go-getter, if you're a positive person, if you're trying to be proactive and helpful, and if you don't complain, people are going to take note of that. Like I said earlier, just know that everyone around you has a million other things on their to-do list in their plate. So they don't really have the time to give to you individually, to necessarily say, hey, do this differently, hey, do that differently, but pay attention and just try to anticipate their needs, and make life easier for them, not harder. And I'd like to open it up now for a little bit of Q&A.
There's something that you said in the past that it still is in my head about asking questions and looking for something before you ask a question. So yes. I just wanted to ask you again, will you share that wisdom?
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest thing when you are looking for advice, or trying to figure out how to do an assignment, first of all, always ask when the assignment needs to be done by and make sure you deliver on time. But secondly, if you're trying to figure out what your member's position is on something, trying to figure out some detail to assist with completing an assignment, the rule I always go by is ask 3, then me. So go to different resources to try and figure it out yourself. Check your member's website, check the Congressional Research Service, check Google. One of our peers, Taylor Swift with Demand Progress, was saying that one of his first tasks as an intern was fixing the printer. So, don't ask someone, how do I do that? Try and figure it out yourself. If you're unable to find that answer, go to your direct supervisor and let them know where you looked already, so they don't think that you're just asking them directly. Be able to say, hey, I checked here, here, and here. I wasn't able to find this answer, but can you help me figure out blank? Just general good advice. And yes, just a little background on myself. Before I came to College to Congress, I was a communications director on Capitol Hill. I was there for 5 years, started out as a staff assistant and worked my way up to communications director. I have been a Hill intern. I've been a campaign intern. I've kind of seen it all. So if there are any questions you guys have, not even necessarily on Common Intern Dilemmas, but just about how the Hill works or anything, let me know and I'm happy to answer.